a little bit Visiter l'Afrique, which is a travel platform where people who travel around the continent are able to share the way that they see Africa. I created 5 years ago to give the opportunity to Africans who live on the continent to change the African narrative. Today, I'm super glad to be in charge of moderating this panel. And I would like to have everybody, starting by you, Lola, because women first, always, to introduce yourself.
Okay, so I'm Lola Emeruwa. I'm the founder of Wish Africa. I have an online Instagram account that has 2 posts called Wish Africa Mrs. T. It's basically just meant to be the personification of our travel experience. We're really trying to promote easier travel in and around Africa. We're trying to show the uncovered mysteries, how interesting it is, the challenges there are, and we also want to see if there's anything that can be done to make it easier. So that's it.
Charaf.
I'm Charaf. I am from Morocco, and my company is Sunny Side Up. And our whole angle is we promote wellness travel in Morocco specifically. The idea, and I guess what we wanted to share, was all these amazing boutique hotels, spaces that are perfect for yoga retreats, fitness retreats, meditation, but that hadn't specifically developed that offer yet. And combining those with some of the world's leading and London's leading yoga and wellness leaders. So we organize 5 to 9 day trips for these people and share Morocco in that way. So for us, it was the opportunity to bring a new approach to experiencing Morocco. And this year, growing out to Italy, Portugal, Croatia, and Kenya. So, yeah, we'll talk about it more. But
Nice. Laduma.
I'm Laduma Ngxokolo. I'm from Johannesburg, South Africa. I am the founder and director of MaXhosa by Laduma, which means the Xhosa people, in my own perspective. As Xhosa people, we are a proud nation of about 12 million, the second biggest after the Zulu nation. I'd like to think of the Xhosa people as people that express themselves elegantly. And I started my brand in 2010 during the Soccer World Cup in South Africa. We lost the game that year, but while I was a student, I came out here and won an award for my project, my thesis project, which was based on MaXhosa. That was my first glance of traveling, which opened my eyes to a huge gap that I saw here in the UK, in the African diaspora, that there wasn't enough African luxury products. When I came back home, I decided I want to establish an African luxury brand, and that was born in 2011. Up to now, I employ about 30 people. We manufacture our products internally and outsource from various parts of South Africa and export to certain countries around the world. Thank you.
Thank you. I think you can clap for them. I would like to know amongst you, I mean the public and you, has already made more than 5 countries on the continent. 4? 3? 2? At least 1. Okay, Charaf, so you promote a lot Morocco, which is, I think, this is the first in South Africa countries who receive more than 10 million tourists on the continent. I would like to know what is the other countries that you did on the continent and why? Was it for tourism or business purpose?
I was in Tunisia for the finals of the African Cup. That was an amazing experience. So the one is for travel. I was in Egypt for some a peace summit, And then I was in South Africa. I interned in Joburg for 6 weeks when I was studying. So yeah, that was my African experience.
Okay, so mostly for tourism, but you mix tourism and...
In South Africa, it was for work.
Okay, great. What about you, Laduma?
Let me begin with a small country that a lot of people don't know, Lesotho. I often travel there for business. I also have traveled to Rwanda for business and pleasure. I think it's an amazing country. Like, I was super surprised about how clean that city is. The cleanest city I've ever been to.
Yes, I went there 2 months ago,
Yeah.
and I was surprised too. Yeah, I mean, it was super clean. You know,
super clean.
I don't mean Cameroon is not clean, but it was super clean.
I went to Yaoundé in Cameroon as well. Fantastic, fantastic.
How was it?
People. It was amazing.
Okay.
I partied hard. Been to Lagos a lot of times. Wow, what an amazing place to be. Been to Uganda as well. Been to Kenya.
So you made more than 5
Yeah.
African countries.
I've been to
But when I say
Morocco as
5,
well.
you were like this.
I went to Marrakesh. I studied textile design, so when I was in Marrakesh, I saw a lot of patterns. I was like, oh my God, these are like a treat to me. I've been to Egypt as well. I've done quite a lot of countries.
So, Lola, have you made the same? If no,
Definitely not like Laduma. Laduma has flown everywhere all the time. He's like our poster boy. But my story about traveling Africa is actually the story of Wish Africa. When God, I don't know how long ago now. That my brother was doing a tour. He's an actor, and they were traveling to every country in the world. And he said, "You need to see the rest of Africa." And at that point, it was like Dubai and New York and Paris. And I just, I had no real interest. So later on that year, we went to Zanzibar. I don't know if anybody's seen any pictures of Zanzibar. Google it now if you haven't. It is gorgeous. It's white beach sands. It's clear blue water. It's massage on the beach. It's just cool, and it's amazing. And so I thought, okay, this is, and honestly, so January 1st, I can't remember the year now, I was like, if, I think I'm quite, like I read a lot and very interested in very many things. If I don't know about my continent, about my neighbors, I wonder how much more there is to learn. So yeah, that was kind of where Wish Africa was founded. That's when it was born in my mind. And since then, I've gone to South Africa, I've gone more to Ghana, which is just like next door, but I love Ghana. Sometimes I say I'm secretly Ghanaian.
so do you prefer?
I'm not saying I prefer.
Which jollof do you prefer?
I'm not saying I prefer.
It's like everybody in
Just
Ghana or Lagos are
sometimes.
already jollof rice.
I'm not
jollof
saying
rice.
that jollof rice. Come on, we're not talking about jollof rice. Nigerian jollof rice is the one. I went to Marrakesh. I've been a couple of times. I love Marrakesh. I love it so much, honestly. Such a beautiful, friendly space. So where I want to go to next is Kenya. Like I have this romantic notion about it. I'm dying to go. So Air Kenya, if you're listening, I'm ready anytime. Yeah.
I love Kenya, but I think it's the same in Lagos. You have a really issue with traffic jam. But I remember an experience in Kenya 5 years ago. I went out to the Matatu and said, okay, I'm going to walk 3 hours because I was really tired. But I think we have a Kenyan ladies there. She could share the experience of Nairobi. It's really tough, but I love Nairobi. I would like to know, how will you describe Africa in 3 words? I will start with you, Charaf. 3 words.
First word is different.
You can say sunny.
Huh?
No, you can say sunny. Because your
Sunny
company,
side up.
you can say sunny.
Yeah, different. Difficult to get around. difficult to access. The third word is exciting. There's so much opportunity, especially in the wellness space. We have a history of wellness is, I guess, the new buzzword word globally, but in Africa we've been doing wellness for thousands of years, and it hasn't been for marketing. It's been for mental health and physical health, because our cultures developed that and saw the value in that. So now that Eastern medicine is no longer such a exotic thing, it's like, oh, well, actually, the opportunity in wellness travel and the opportunity of how we can translate how our ancestors have been taking care of themselves, whether that's the hammam tradition in Morocco or or our music or our spiritual music. The way we can tap into that opportunity is a huge gold mine. So I would say exciting for that reason.
Thank you. Laduma?
How to describe Africa in 3 words? Wow.
Just
It's a challenging
start.
one. First one, I'd say humility. A lot of people often ask, what has Africa done for the world? I often say to people that don't know that we offer a lot of minerals to the world. I tell them that Africa has offered humility to the world, because that's what we offer, That is what we're comfortable with. The likes of Nelson Mandela are some of the references that people use as humility stories, and various other legends that you find in the continent. Number 2, I was going to say rich, but I think wealthy is better. Africa is definitely a wealthy continent. We're just in a process of unlocking the infrastructures that will help us reclaim that wealth that is out there. Lastly, spiritual. With the travels that I've done around Africa, a lot of things, I consider myself as a millennial. So we, as the millennial, often want to define things logically, but a lot of things don't have to make sense. The cultures that I've experienced with my travels have taught me that our sense of spirit is different. Yeah.
Lola, and I will ask to someone in the public. So people already find the 3 words. I'm going to choose someone.
I will use the word rich because I think it's rich in minerals, in resources. I would use the word big. It's huge, 54 countries, and complex. Complex is definitely the word. Putting this together, the content. It was important that we had, Arabic North Africans, Indian Kenyans, Caucasian South Africans, of course, Black Nigerians, but also Lebanese Nigerians. It's such an incredibly diverse landmass that we all share.
So it's time to find someone in the public to ask the question. I will go to the woman in orange. Yes, sis. Yeah.
And just with the expo today, that we have seen the amount of work that's been done to unlock the potential and materialize all the wonderful things that we have to offer to the world. Love, because I think we're a loving continent, particularly when you think about the challenges that we face and how much love and hospitality. It doesn't matter how poor an African is, they're always going to invite you into their home and share and offer you that love and compassion. Third, stylish. Yeah, we are super stylish. So yeah, for obvious reasons.
Thank you. There's a sentence that I love is, do what you have, where you are, with what you have actually. And that's why I launched 5 years ago, Visiter l'Afrique. I was based in France, wanted to change the way people see Africa. But as soon as I went back home 3 years ago, my view was really different. You know, when you live in France, you want to go to Airbnb because you want to live an experience. No matter if you are African from the diaspora, you want to go to Côte d'Ivoire to live maybe in the apartment of some Ivorian, being able to cook with Mami Fanta Futu Banane. But this is when you live outside. As soon as you live on the continent, it's super different because you don't want to live, especially for me, for myself, I don't want to live an experience at the Airbnb house in Joburg because I feel like it's the same thing that I do at home. So today we talk a lot about the boom of African tourism, about the fact of there's more and more people who do Airbnb on the continent, South Africa, Kenya, Morocco. How do you see the evolution of Airbnb on the continent for you? Do you think the way diaspora may see it is different from the way a foreigner, meaning American, England, can see it from African? Because me, I don't want to do Airbnb on Africa because I just want to chill at the hotel.
Diane, I'm suspecting you. Is Airbnb a partner
of Visiter l'Afrique? No, because I told you I don't want to do Airbnb. I want to go to a hotel. I want to chill. You know, I don't want to live experience, you know. But back in the days, 5 years ago, I would be like, oh no, I want to live at someone's home and, you know, enjoy the life. But when you live on the continent, it's complex, it's difficult. And when you take vacation, you just want to enjoy, like, full package. But I'm always surprised, how people see, like, things. Oh no, in Africa, they want to live experience. They want to discover things. Is it African or is it
I think it's to do with your daily life, you know. Living in a place like Lagos, Lagos is a very hectic city. There's a lot of people, like you said, there's a lot of traffic. So for me, my dream holiday is beach and nothing, and cocktail and book and nothing. I don't want to go anywhere, I just want to look at ocean, you know. So, and I want to do it in the nicest place possible. So for me, going from like an idea of a holiday is not necessarily going from like a Lagos to another city that's like Lagos. I think that's generally what it is that you're asking. I can't say if it's a diasporan thing. I think it's a very personal thing, you know.
So at your company, Sunny, most of your customers are they from the diaspora or mostly foreigners who want to discover African destination like Morocco?
So most of our customers, we're a B2B company, so business to business. So our direct clients are actually the yoga teachers, the fitness brands, the yoga studios. So we service them and they bring their students, their followers, their clients. So, and most of them are not diaspora, they're visiting tourists. I guess to your question, for me there's two parts to it. One is thinking from a travel perspective, is thinking of Africa as one place, and I often try to like think about it from a different perspective, in the sense that you would never think of Asia as one place or Europe as one place, and maybe as Africans we also put this upon ourselves, this narrative of one Africa, which has two sides to it, I guess, as far as I'm concerned. One is there's the beautiful idea of, okay, together we're better and together we're stronger, and we obviously have so much opportunity to build, and definitely in unity, strength. But then on the other side, it's like almost like a self-imposed idea of, well, you know, the experience, the African experience is a singular experience, when, you know, just between in Morocco, just between Tangiers and Laayoune, you have two completely different experiences. So I would say that for the idea of Africa, and especially in travel, that there are as many different experiences to have as there are people in Africa. And then for the sharing economy part, and the Airbnb, and I would say, so to benchmark, we kind of tried different accommodation, and last week I tried for the first time an Airbnb in Marrakesh. And to be honest, I think it's great because it's bringing transparency and information into the market, and so people now have transparently an idea of where they're going to be staying. I think Morocco, at least, and I think many other African countries that are still very much have a nascent tourism infrastructure. It's really a hit or miss in the sense that you can end up in places with substandard sanitary conditions, no Wi-Fi, which apparently is as important as sanitary conditions these days. And so at least now the sharing economy has brought this transparency. The pitfall there is to be on to fall into a Barcelona kind tourism, which just obliterates neighborhoods from their actual residents, gentrifies neighborhoods, and basically kills the essence of the city. So I think Marrakesh probably has in Africa the biggest risk when it comes to gentrifying the city out of its thousands of years of history, because everyone wants to Airbnb their place because financially it makes more sense. So I guess it's just a question of balance and a question of making sure that from a policy perspective, this is controlled and limited. I know I'm having a hard time finding a place to live in Marrakesh because landlords want to Airbnb and rent by the day as opposed to rent by the month, which makes absolute sense from a financial perspective. Sorry about the long answer.
No, thank you. It was great. Laduma, would you want to add something? No. Great. So I'm super inspired by South Africa and Morocco because those countries have been able to create brands. As you mentioned, Tangier is different from Fez, different from Marrakesh, and it's the same in your country, Cape Town, Durban, or even Joburg. I don't know if you know it, but how your country were able to market tourism, and how they were able to create those brands. Because there's some people that just want to go to Joburg, they're not interested by Cape Town and vice versa. Could you tell us more about that?
South Africa, I must say, is very aggressive when it comes to marketing our tourism. And of course, there is a huge distinction between Cape Town, Joburg, and Port Elizabeth, and Durban. And Cape Town actually has been doing best over the years, fast growing, because of the landmarks that are there, Table Mountain, the penguins, and the lifestyle there, and the affordability part as well plays a very good choice decision that people make. Although it's far to get out there, but people get their money's worth. I used to live in Cape Town, so I interacted with a lot of tourists out there who come in and want to experience. Some of them even go as far as doing things that wasn't on their itinerary. So I've been living in Johannesburg now for 2.5 years, and the sense that I get from tourists is that people want to see something different. In Cape Town, the scenario is more Eurocentric. So people, when they get there, some get disappointed and say that, yo, I thought I was coming to Africa,
That was my reaction the first time.
Yeah, 60% of the people that I see in the city are white people. Where are all the black people at? So Johannesburg now tends to be a city that people want to visit more often because it is a melting pot where you find each and every type of African. And it is a business district as well. So it's not as beautiful as Cape Town, of course. It has its type of beauty, but brand South Africa has been able to place it in a certain position which does justice to it. Because other than that, it does offer luxury lifestyle as well. We've got some of the best shopping malls in the country. We've got the Louis Vuitton boutiques and the Gucci's and
MaXhosa.
So yeah, I think that South Africa has done great justice. Yeah? And we do partner with other countries as well, where we have a tourism indaba, which happens in Durban annually, where Zimbabwe, Tanzania, and other countries come and exhibit and showcase what they have to offer.
But it's so tough to have a visa to get to your country. Man, when you live in Cameroon, you want to go to South Africa, you pray. Long time, because they ask you your bank details, and if you are broke, you can't travel. So it's really tough. But we are going to talk after about all these visa issue, airlines, infrastructure. This is the other part of the talk. Charaf.
Yeah, I'll speak more generally first. I think South Africa and Morocco have one thing in common, and one is infrastructure, which you just hit on, and just actually having the airports, the streets, the hotels, the train staff. So actually investing in this tourism ecosystem, because I think the narrative is easy to build after, because every one of the 54 countries has an amazing history and amazing culture. But the question is, how far are people willing to go past their comfort zone to actually access that narrative? And the harder you make it, the less people will want to do it, especially with all the offering that there is today. So I think Morocco and South Africa have done that right. And then there's also the question of safety. So Egypt used to be the most visited African country, and then they've gone through quite a difficult period lately. And I'm sure they're on their way back, as is Tunisia. So, but in both cases, safety was no longer ensured. And I think safety and infrastructure on a more general level. Then if we're to look at Morocco specifically, I think there's two interesting things to break down. One is that of the 10+ million tourists, a lot of them are the diaspora. And the diaspora, Moroccans living in Europe, who have come back, or who come back to visit their families, they're counted as tourists. So that's an interesting thing to keep in mind. Then is just the physical proximity to Europe makes it much easier. I mean, getting a flight from London to Marrakesh can cost, like 19 quid. And I think you have to add 2 zeros to that to get to Joburg or Cape Town. So that also helps, is the geographic proximity to Europe. Then of course, this is without getting into the narrative of what Morocco represents, what there is to offer, because that's kind of clear, and there's still so much to develop there. And then I guess on moving forward, and if for countries that are still developing the safety and infrastructure side, I would say the idea is we're kind of moving already from an experiential, kind of a need for experience, so an experiential tourism, to a self-actualization tourism, which is people don't want to just now experience, they also want to experience while doing themselves good. Either in, because in many ways, every tourist has an experiential experience or time. Anything can be experiential, really, when you define it. But then, I guess now the next step is self-actualization. And if I were a country that was going to brand my narrative, that's where I would look. Is okay, how can we help people who come to visit us leave richer and better, and feel better in their mind and feel better in their body?
Thank you, Charaf. Lola, so you live in Lagos.
Fine. So there's no brand Nigeria per se. There's nothing that I'm aware of that the government does formally. I know it is quite a challenge for other countries to come in, but we do have a lot of cultural ambassadors who have created events throughout the year that have made it seem very exciting to come. So in April is the time that we have the Giddy Fest, Homecoming, Arise Fashion Week. And then towards the last quarter of the year, we've got a Lagos Fashion and Design Week. We've got Artex. And then in December, of course, that's just the craziest time with concert after concert after concerts. So these are more informal ways in which we are trying to, from the grassroots up, encourage people to come into the country.
So I am your neighbor, I live in Douala, and it's tough, to come to Nigeria. Visa issue too, but it's fine. Now Cameroonian, we are able to come to your country without any issue. So I'm going to go to ArtX Lagos and Lagos Photo Festival. I know Azu is not there, but I'm surprised because it's like you have Lagos, Abuja, Kano, because I'm a huge fan of Emir of Kano. Really, this man is really intellectual, super smart, but we don't know what we can do in Lagos. I'm a huge fan of your website. So you were the first one that showed me that we can do something more than hotel for a night in Lagos. So I don't know how it's possible because, you have Nollywood movie, you have Whiskey, Davido, Burna Boy. They give you envy to move at your place or at the club, but now taking an airplane to go to Lagos, you don't know, in Nigeria, you don't know what you can do there. You can party, drink champagne, go to Nikkei Art Gallery. But what today for you I should do as soon as I land to Lagos or Abuja? Which is the 5 things I should do as a tourist?
Wow, 5 things you can do.
Oh, terra culture too.
Gosh, it really depends on what you're into. I definitely think that Lagos is a very party city. You know what I mean? Like, I think you want to come. Also, it's a crazy city. So you want to come for a long weekend, a week at the most, and you want to go out to all the restaurants. We've got such a huge number of really incredible restaurants now. Like you said, the bars, the music is incredible. There's a lot of fantastic nightclubs. It is where this new Afro beats, if I'm allowed to call it that, movement has come from. So you're definitely coming for food. You're coming for music. You're going to stop off at Alara also.
Knock by Alara too.
Yes, knock by Alara, definitely. Yeah, so that is what I think you're coming. If you're not coming for an event in particular, those are the things that I think you're definitely coming for.
So if you had the Minister of Tourism of your country in front of you, what do you say to him? How to bring Nigeria on your perspective?
Give me money.
So could you record it? Because we are going to send him we transfer.
No, on a more serious note, what needs to be changed and what we are actually really hoping to do is the education. I mean, there are a lot of very high level conversations. It's not like people at the top of government don't know. Make it easier for people to get visas. When you land, you want those people that greet you, that they're trained well, that they understand the importance of that arrival experience. So that's actually the element that we want to focus on, the immigration officers, the people at the Ebola temperature check. We want people to understand that they are such important ambassadors of the country. That's where I would tell the Minister of Tourism to focus his attention, because we have visa on arrival, but it's the most complicated process ever. Yeah.
So Laduma, how could we unlock the potential of African tourism for you and then for you, Charaf?
I think accessibility is high priority in tourism in our continent. Flight ticket prices are still ridiculous. Like, even for myself to fly from Johannesburg to Namibia or to Botswana, I still have to pay like £200. Whereas with the convenience that is here in the UK, one can take a flight to Paris, for £90. So that's high priority, and the visa issues as well. I struggled to get a visa to go to Morocco as well. They even picked on me when I was going out. I have 3 South African passports, and they held me for an hour, almost missed my flight. I think that we have to have a visa-free accessibility within the continent. And also, as well, when people travel to certain countries, they want to make sure that they get the true essence of what it offers. In the case of Johannesburg, it is difficult to access that true essence, because we have a huge issue with crime. I've been living in Johannesburg for about 2.5 years now. I've never really came across crime, but I see a lot on YouTube. People been hijacked. There was a news reporter that got mugged live on TV. So that has created a lot of bad reputation for our country. So those are some of the challenges that we have to confront, as a country, and also as well. In some countries, it's difficult to actually access the right type of accommodation, but nevertheless, people have had the greatest experience, and at a very reasonable cost. Yeah.
Thank you, Charaf.
I just want to touch on the leaving Morocco and getting secondary student. I apologize for it, but I really think that you touched on something there. It's crazy to think that between South Africa and Morocco, I know there's political divergences, but it's crazy to think that two of the biggest countries in Africa still have visa requirements between them. The equivalent would be France and Germany having visa requirements between them. That's how much work we have to do. And a question of education, and it's like I'm sure a lot of the Europeans on your flight were not secondary screened, and it's just a question of why are we even still in this phase? We have so many other things to deal with. This is like almost an easy win of let's just move forward. So that was Tahir on that. And then, sorry, what was the question?
How can we unlock the potential of tourism in Africa? But it's on the true perspective.
Yeah.
It's like West going to Africa. There's African traveling within the continent, so it's different.
I think one big way is to invest in culture, to invest in crafts, to invest in people who have traditions, who have kept them for hundreds of years, but who don't have the means to become masters. Because to become a master craftsman or to become a master at what you do, you still need to survive and you still have to feed children. So if I was to speak to the Minister of Tourism, or if I was to say one thing that could have maybe a magnified impact, is we need to identify our masters and pay them the respect that they deserve.
Lola, on the African perspective, how can we unlock tourism inside the continent, on your perspective?
Well, I think a lot of work has already started to happen, with platforms like Instagram, with platforms like Visiter l'Afrique, all these travel bloggers like Lee Lutumbe and Asiami Gold, them kind of being the pioneers to an extent, them kind of rebranding and taking pictures and sharing their experiences has already done that. I don't think before I saw all these very exciting images on Instagram that I was particularly interested, but the more people kind of talk about, the more people travel, the more people share their experiences, the more people will be like, okay, well, it's obviously not as dangerous in Johannesburg, because I'm a Lagosian and I'm scared to go to Johannesburg. I'm not gonna lie, you know what I mean? But hearing you say that, I'm obviously gonna stay in your house when I come and go around your car. Yeah, so I mean that's it. Sharing the stories, sharing the images, sharing the pictures. That's the first step, because there are elements that we can't discuss here, of course, which is the reasons why it is more difficult. Nigerians can be a bit naughty when they travel, you know what I mean? Which is potentially why we do have quite restrictive measures when we're going to other countries, and some of us suffer for that. But if we can together kind of make a business case and say there's such a demand from people who, they're well-intentioned travelers that want to move around, then people won't have a choice but to, adjust.
Okay. I don't know about your country, but in Cameroon, pretty sure Côte d'Ivoire, Benin, and even Togo, when we travel, even inside our country, because we have weddings, someone that we lost, and all of that. And so this is why people travel, because there's a lack of infrastructure. In Cameroon, we miss 2,000 rooms. So we don't have enough hotel. You have maybe 5 big hotel. They say they're 5 stars, but they're 1 stars. But they already know that. I don't need to say that here, but they already know that. So there's a huge work of education, because if before traveling, me going to South Africa, I need to understand why. Because, we have so how today we can educate, because, we are not, how can we give envy to people to travel inside the country, to travel in the region, Central Africa, West Africa, and then find a way to go outside the region, go to South Africa if you're from Cameroon, go to Lagos if you are from Bujumbura, Burundi. How can you give envy? How can we create habit to people? We see more and more middle classes on the continent. They have maybe phone, they can go on Instagram, but many of people on the continent, they don't go to Instagram. They don't know Visiter l'Afrique, they don't know Asiami and all of that. So how can we create habit? How can we give envy to people to love the country, to love the continent, because they're the first ambassador? Lola.
I'll be honest with you, I'm not sure that we can. You know what I mean? That has to be something that you decide. If your city or your town or your village is not ready to receive people, then you're not ready to receive people. The areas, the parts of Africa, the villages, the towns, the cities that do invest in hotels and do invest in infrastructure, they're saying, come, we want you. If you don't get it ready, then you know what I mean. It has to be something that individuals, citizens, local governments decide.
So don't you think, because when people talk a lot about tourism in Africa, they talk about the power of social media. I mean, which is true, but at the end of the day, Wish Africa can do the work on social media, on all these African destinations, same like Visiter l'Afrique. But if government don't do the job, people are always going to go on your website, your Instagram, then they will go on Google to check. But if your country don't do the work to have like a good press, reputation, all of that, don't you think that the power of social media can't expand?
Well, so this platform is on, in the first stage, it's the conversation, but we do want to go beyond just talking about it. That's why there's so many brands and so many personalities represented on our platform. We're trying to say, okay, across, these are things that affect us in art and in architecture and in fashion and in food and drink and everything. It affects every single citizen. It's what is it that we all intend on doing of the chain, then there's not much that can happen.
Thank you. Before taking question, I have a last question for you, Laduma. We had Rini Folawio from Alara, and I stand Instagram account of Alara, and I saw that 2 weeks ago we had Naomi Campbell in Nigeria. So it's all about fashion, it's all about music. Do you think that today fashion have the potential to give envy to people, like tourist people, tourists to come visit the country? Do you think the brand like yours can give envy to people to discover your culture, MaXhosa?
Absolutely, I think so. Especially when it comes to stories that have a heritage connection. Some of the things that we've recently built within our company is our production tour experience. So a year ago, I bought a factory from my supplier. Now we've opened up an atelier service where our customers can walk in and design their own pieces from our existing archive. So we do welcome the public to come through and walk through our machines and look at how the fabric is produced, and give them an experience and show them the beadwork that I actually take patterns from, and tell them about the culture. That has sparked a lot of interest, of people about my culture. And they want to see more as well. And the nice part is that they can take something tangible with them as a form of a souvenir or something to gift to their family members. And even post online as well. Even fashion goes as far beyond that. In terms of lifestyle, there are places where people can visit and experience fashion, like Fashion Week, for instance. We've got some of the best standards in terms of our Fashion Week. We've got the greatest parties, and there's a lot to see as well in the scattered areas, in the rural areas, where we do weaving of our rugs. South Africa is a very interesting destination in terms of culture. I must say our government is doing a great investment in terms of our culture, and of course, our responsibility as the youth is to make sure that we evolve it and keep it new and keep it fresh, for the next generation, so that it doesn't become something that will be obsolete in the future.
Thank you. Do we have question, please? Question? We have a question.
Hi guys, thank you so much. It's been really great listening to what everyone has to say. I think my question's more around, we've all sort of spoken about where to stay or what to do when we get there and the visa issue, but something that I found really interesting is flights actually relatively don't really exist to certain places. Direct flights, for example, Nigeria to Angola, which is I'm sure it should be a 3-hour flight maximum, but it takes about 21 hours to get to, because they have to go to South Africa first and they have to go here. So like what I think my question is probably, are people thinking of investing in airlines, local airlines, not just relying on international airlines like BA, Virgin, or even just predominantly maybe Ethiopian or Kenyan airlines to service the entire continent?
We can take a second question, then you can reply.
Good afternoon. I would like to find out that, is there any way we can encourage schools to let the younger generation know a lot more about Africa and things they can do and places they can visit in Africa? Because I don't think that's been done in the schools at the moment, at least in Nigeria. I'm from Nigeria, and I don't think that's being done even in schools abroad either. And the other thing I think is that, like tour groups, here we had travel agencies that had tour groups that were specific to different places, maybe historical places in South Africa or Morocco, that they actually pinpoint those places as a tour group, and they advertise it that way, and you know that, oh, I'm going on a tour to Morocco, I'm going to go to A, B, and C, and there are about 20 of us going in that group. I think some of the travel agencies need to maybe focus on things like that as well. Thank you.
Yeah, you can.
So to answer the first question, supply and demand, really. I can't imagine that if there was such a huge demand for Lagos to Luanda, that somebody wouldn't be creating an airline. I think it might be indicative of a lack of it might just be indicative of the current reality. In the second vein, in terms of the education of schools, I don't know if that's something that's done in other parts of the world. And then in regards to the travel agencies, I think there are loads. There's so many companies like Sunny Side Up. In Morocco, there's Tastemakers Online, so Tastemakers Africa. There are loads of companies that do tours all around. Yeah. So check travel.wishafrica.co. Yeah.
I think I'll take on the second question. I think education is super crucial when it comes to how it influences our traveling. In South Africa, for instance, traveling domestic is something that is out there, that you find in primary school and high school as well. One of the stats that I've picked up in a traveling conference in South Africa was that a lot of South Africans don't want to travel out of South Africa. And on the statistics that they picked up from around South Africa was that people don't want to travel outside because they feel like South Africa is carrying a lot of beauty and there's a lot of destinations to visit, which is great. However, there's not enough education that is out there about Africa and culture as well. In my example, what I did was to educate myself. I created a Pinterest account, personal account, where I took each and every country, and then every day I pin about at least 10 pictures of what culture a certain country has, so that when I get there, I would go there and take pictures with them, you know. So I think that is how we can evolve as people. But internally within South Africa, there's not enough education. Like, I once went to a post office to post something to Switzerland, and the salesperson asked a friend, "Where's Switzerland again?" And her friend said, "It's in America." So we need more education about geography. I think that is super crucial. It will definitely liberate and how we travel within the continent.
When I was younger, to speak to the question about schools, when I was younger, me and my friends, we didn't want to travel in Morocco. We just wanted to go to Europe, and we wanted to discover the world. And you know, for us, going to Morocco was not a trip. It was like a forced trip to go see the family or something. So, and we had this program in school called Explore Morocco, which actually forced, instead of going abroad, we had to go and discover, you know, go stay with a tribe for a week, or like trek up Summit Toubkal, which is the highest mountain in North Africa. And we used to hate that week because we were like, all the other schools are going to Europe and we're staying here. Ironically, today, a lot of these experiences we reproduce in my company for people from abroad. But it's like, maybe the same thing in fashion and maybe the same thing in travel. For a sizable amount of people, it's almost like foreigners need to desire it before we desire it. And it's like, well, okay, so then we need to play mind games with ourselves about how to say, well, actually the foreigners think this is a really great trip. So, and then maybe that'll drum up demand locally. But it's quite an interesting thing that something needs to be valued internationally before we can value it ourselves nationally. And it's the same thing in travel. And then the other point I was going to make was, when you have one-off events that are also valued internationally, but like the Art Biennale in Dakar, for example, the Rise Fashion Week in Nigeria, these are events that like I aspire to go to. I haven't been to, but it's like me and my friends were like, that's a cool weekend to go to Senegal. That's a cool experience to go to Nigeria. So maybe that's also a great opportunity to say, well, in Africa, here's the calendar of events of like cool things to go to. there's a buzz in that city, there's a buzz in that country during that time, and that's something that'll allow us to interact with, let's say, like-minded people, as opposed to coming on a random weekend to Marrakesh. Well, I want to be there for the 154 African Art Fair, which I think Touria was here as well talking about that. But that's an amazing weekend in Marrakesh, for example. So I think working around this kind of one-off experiences, but also communicating on them, because I wouldn't know if friends didn't tell me about the Biennale in Dakar. So the idea of communicating around that and positioning around experiences is also a very interesting way to drum up interest, even nationally and locally.
Great, thank you. Do we have another question? No. Just to reply to the question of the ladies about airlines. So my father used to run the airlines in Cameroon. So what we need to understand is airline is like, it's a business. Sometimes as a traveler, we think that we own that because we live in UK or France and we are used to have plenty airlines. But how Lola said, doing Luanda and Nigeria, if you have only 100 person per year, it's not interesting. It's better to have the 100 person that do like Lagos, Addis Ababa, Luanda. And I think that today we are lucky enough to have companies like even Turkish Airlines who deserve 60 cities on the continent, or Ethiopian Airlines 54. Back in the days, we did not have that. Of course, it's tough to travel around the continent. And I work on the continent. I see how it's tough to go to South Africa. Sometimes I have to take Emirates, Senegal, up and then going down. But we need to understand that is a real business. I think Nigeria used to have Arik, but it was tough, man. You know, one time on 10, you had the plane. So I think African state need to understand it's good to have company. I think Ghana just launched, is going to launch its own company, working with Ethiopian Airlines. They announced that 2 days ago. This is interesting to say, as a country, we want to launch our own company, but we don't know the process. We don't know how to manage a company, so we are going to see Ethiopian Airlines, who is going to own 49% of the company to make it, worth it, and et cetera, et cetera. So African countries should do the same, or things about Air Afrique. I mean, we used to have Air Afrique 15, 20 years ago.